Hello and welcome to A Lonely Critic. I am Anthony Renteria and I am lonely because I am a critic. Today is my first new movie review of 2022. Very excited. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I got COVID like the first week of January. It is now like January 17th. And I'm finally better. I can finally go out again into the world. Hopefully not get COVID again. I'm pretty sure I got it at work, so I still got to go to work. But anyways, this week I watched Bella or Belle. I don't know what pronunciation it is. I'm assuming it's Bella because it's kind of... Anyways, it's Japanese animated film. Came to my local theater, which is extremely rare. We never get animated films, especially the anime kind, and specifically in Japanese. Most of the showings were in English dub. I watched the English sub. I just prefer subtitles. I feel like English American actors never... I don't know, they always try to sound Japanese and like their expressions, and I think just Japanese is a much more expression-filled language, where I think English is very, it has hard stops, and it comes off wrong when you try to emote what you can emote in Japanese, in my opinion. So I usually don't like watching movies in English that are Japanese. I'd rather watch the real performers with the real voices in the real language and read what I need to understand. Anyway, so I watched this film with no real expectations. I didn't even know it was coming out. I didn't even know we were getting it. I didn't even know it was here. I just walked to the theater and I was like, alright, I'm probably gonna watch the 355 or Scream. I wasn't excited about either of them. And then I saw a movie post for an animated film, for an anime film, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And then they're like, well, it's Bella. And I was like, well, I gotta see Bella. So I went to see Bella. And I am so happy I did. It was a freaking amazing movie. Like, I was just blown away. And it wasn't until after I started looking up some information about it. I'm not going to try to butcher the director's name or any of the performers' names, because I'm just not good at pronunciating anything, yet alone anything not in English, so I'm just not going to try. But the director is the director of, I want to say Mirai, which was a film that came out 2 or 3 years ago. That was an animated film. Anime film, and that was an amazing film as well, and it makes a lot of sense, but it is also very shocking. Like, I feel like he's grown a lot as a filmmaker, and the way he shoots scenes is at a whole nother level. And I think it's just also because of subject matter. So I guess for anyone who doesn't know what Bella is, like me, I didn't know what it was. Essentially, it's about this young girl, has a tragedy in her life, as all kid films begin nowadays, like the Disney, kind of cliche. The film is about a young girl, and it takes place in this like world where there's like this app called You. It's essentially the metaverse. It's essentially what Mark Zuckerberg wants to make, alright? It's this app called You, and then you like put in these earbuds, and then it like scans your body. I'm not sure like exactly how it works, like what happens to your physical body while you're doing it, or I don't know, they don't really explain it too much, but just enough so you get it. So I'm assuming there's a bunch of potholes if I try to dig into it. But anyways, so You is this app where it kind of scans you through these earbuds, and you get synced up into the app. The app creates this like avatar with all your hidden abilities and your secret truths, and it makes this avatar based on that. So like if you were a skittish person, maybe you'd be like a squirrel or what have you. Like, you are physically demonstrated in the way the app believes that you are, which is a great and fascinating idea. I thought that was very interesting. So this young girl gets in there and she becomes a freaking pop star. Well, not like a pop star, but she becomes a rock star. She becomes like the Adele of this metaverse in like a second, which is pretty awesome. I don't want to go into any more like narrative stuff, but that's like the general gist. And then there are some flares and flavorings and hints of like Beauty and the Beast. Like I don't think it's like an adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, but it does use some like very obvious imagery and plot points that are from Beauty and the Beast. So that's all the narrative stuff I want to get into. I think with that, if you're interested in that, and then it like has these big musical numbers that are, I love them. Like, the musical numbers were just amazing. So like if you're a fan of like the old Disney animated films, this is like the anime Japanese version of that. So if you like Japanese anime stuff, and then you like old Disney stuff with singing and like that kind of narrative thread, then this is like perfect movie for you to watch. I think you'll love it. if you like the Disney stuff and you hate anime, I mean, I don't know. It might be a weird watch. Just because I feel like anime is like, if you don't like the Japanese language, you don't like the culture, and you don't like how they visualize and emote, then I think you'll just immediately get turned off, which I understand. I mean, it's American animated films, or just all Western animated films, are completely dry and like lack any huge emotional blowout. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to get through, which is cool, you know, whatever rocks your boat. But I think it was a very great anime film. For what it does, I think it did it very well. And I think it, like, if you watch this... Oh, and then the other thing, I watched it in English subtitles, not English dub. So that's like with the Japanese vocals and the English text. There is versions of it playing in theaters, and whenever it comes out or whenever you watch this, there's for sure going to be the English dub version. So if you don't like anime and you just want to give it a try, I would probably recommend the English dub. Honestly, I kind of want to watch the English dub just to feel the lyrics in the songs, because I watched the sub version and I didn't know there was going to be a lot of song numbers until, you know, I sat down to watch it. The music was great, but I do feel like I disconnected a little bit because I didn't understand the lyrics. And I think, you know, when it's these big musical numbers, the lyrics themselves are explaining what the character feels. You know, it's like a traditional musical. You know, it'd be like watching Beauty and the Beast and then not understanding any of the lyrics of what they're saying. You know, that's the set piece for that moment. So I do think maybe my first viewing was hampered by that, but I still loved it because the voices, the vocal work, the singing was beautiful, and then I could read the subtitles, and so I was getting the same idea, but I wasn't getting the impact. And I would love to like at least listen to the songs in English. So I think that's the way to go if you are not a like sub purist. Or subtitle purist, or you're not a fan of anime. I think the songs would be freaking phenomenal in English. Like, I can't wait to stop recording this to check them out. And then I set a 30-minute timer, so I'm gonna try my best to burn through this rapidly. So yeah, that's the general gist. Oh, I forgot to like say some of my biases. Bias number 1, I love the Japanese language. Bias number 2, I love Japanese culture. Bias number 3, generally love anime and like how it is a exaggerated art form of expression. I think like musicals are that, and I think animated films are that, and then anime is like the next level. So I love all those things. So I go into this review saying, gonna lean positive. Alright, so let's actually get into the movie. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was a great time. I was so surprised by the beauty of it. Let's begin with the visuals. I think that's the biggest and best part of this film. The visuals are mind-boggling at times for an anime film. And I don't say that as like lesser, but I'm saying I feel like anime films specifically have they've kind of like, I feel like the general anime film has cornered themselves into a certain visual aesthetic. You know, I don't feel like they push as much as they should. I think Miyazaki was one of those anime directors who just like broke through every single barrier that you could imagine and direct absolute masterpieces, like in a visual way. What he did with hand-drawn animations, you know, moved mountains. And I think this film is the first anime film that I've seen since Miyazaki's last film where I felt like, wow, this guy is really pushing the medium in the visual way. Like, there are shots in here that I was just like stunned with how he was like pulling them off, and like the art design and the capture of it and the way he played with ideas and emotions and physicality in the like visual space. I love the textures that he used. Like, the textures in the real world were completely different than the textures that he used in the like digital U-verse or whatever. And then the color palette of both were different. The way that like shading was done, the way the shadows were done, the way that lighting was done, like it was just a completely different art style. Like, both felt anime, but in such a beautiful way. And it's like something I've never seen, and I've seen like plenty of anime film where there is like a digital world, you know, like Digimon or Pokemon, or, you know, that go into a different reality than Earth. Like, I think that's a pretty popular concept within anime, the anime genre. But this film, the way it tackles it in like the visual way, it just like completely makes it so unique. It to the point to where there was at times where it would go to the like digital world where I would, you know, look at the screen and I was thinking like, wow, is this like CGI? Like, is there bits of CGI coloring this palette? Like, is the background CGI? Is the character CGI? There was something done with like the smoothing. I don't know, maybe there was elements of CGI and that's why maybe it's having such a hard effect on me. But I kind of feel like it wasn't. Like, it was all just still drawn. and they just imitated what CGI would look like. And then they have like these 3D like refractions and like pixelations and bugs and like things glitching out. So it was like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Like, this is like what I kind of wish like Ready Player One would have looked like when that came out, you know, like the digital world being this like perfect imperfection of the digital reality. So I think this guy, this director, absolutely understood the task at hand, and he created two distinct visual palettes that both look completely unique and beautiful. So like the Real World, like I was talking about that I watched his other film, Mirai, but that film had a very like quaint and slow and like methodical kind of sense of framing, and I think The Real World, this film, has that same aesthetic. You know, like he holds shots, his framing is very beautiful. It's almost like very restrained, pulled back, and still, and I love that. So it felt, you know, kind of like a slower indie film when it was in The Real World, then this like pop influenced blockbuster Hollywood extravaganza in the digital world. So visually, the movie is like just rock solid. The other element I want to talk about is the songs. I talked a little bit about how I didn't understand the lyrics, but the songs were still beautifully rendered and captured and displayed and sung by the original Japanese cast and performers. One thing I want to note was the orchestra and like the score of the whole film was beautiful, but specifically when it comes to the song numbers, I absolutely loved how they like swelled to like this gargantuan level. I mean, I was like, there was like that one of the second or third songs when they started, I was like, man, this is like hitting some like Disney vibes, like that old school like Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast kind of levels of like, you feel the emotion coming out of a character, and then you feel this like orchestration, you know, just funneling the emotion into that character and into their like beautiful voice, and it just adds this whole like choir. It's not a choir, but it's just the orchestra of all these instruments, and they're all like traditional, just like pumping through. It really like got me going. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is fucking awesome. So like the last number, the way that one swells to like this huge level, and I mean, there's like military drums going on, there's like these like heavy bass thud just like booming in the theater, and then there's like the trumpets and you know, these high instruments just like going crazy, and then like her voice is like this like constant like sweet soothing voice of like singingness. I don't know, I'm not good at explaining musical stuff because I don't know a lot of musical terms or how to explain or talk about music, but they were amazing. Like, I can't wait to listen to this soundtrack in English so I can get the like the combo of the English of what the actual lyrics and the song. But musically, I mean, again, rock solid. Like, just beautiful orchestra, beautiful soundtrack, beautiful score, and that's wonderful. The other thing I want to talk about is the story. That's the part that's probably the weakest of the film, but I'm starting to like it more and more that I think about it. You know, the film begins, and again, no spoilers, in a simple, you know, anime way. Quiet girl, lonely, shy, you know, and then I'm obviously super connected to that because, I mean, I'm a lonely critic. I'm lonely, I'm shy, I'm quiet. It's me. The movie's about me. No, I'm just kidding. So that was awesome. And then how they use that character to kind of like, how they use the main character and then like opposite, you know, the beast in the movie as like these kind of damaged people in this digital world. Like, it kind of is this like, I don't think it goes too deep, and I don't think it goes too like psychological, or I don't think it's trying to like say this huge message about social media, but I think what it does, what it uses is like subliminal enough and deep enough to where it empowers the characters and the story, get what it needs to get through, but then also having like a little sub narrative of what social media does and like the effects of it and like the people who are drawn to it. And then the idea of like the anonymity, is that a word, anonymity? You know, like being anonymous online, and like what that does to a person, but specifically a young teenager, a young teenage girl who's shy and like unsure of herself and doesn't like how she looks and doesn't like how she sings. But then in this digital world, she's this like beauty pop star, Adele, Beyonce level figure, you know? And I think that's just such an interesting parallel and metaphor, and I think it's executed pretty well. Like, I as the film continued, you know, it wasn't pushing that message out. Like, that's just something I kept drawing out of it, and I like that. I think maybe some people might dislike that, and maybe they'll think, like, I wish I would have dug deeper into those elements, but I think the core of the story is about this young girl, and I think it supplied that enough, and then it gave enough little hints and nuggets to support my little metaphorical claim. So I love that, and I love it made the like whole digital stuff, it made it feel way more emotional than I think what a lot of other writers or directors would have done. Like I think what he pulled off was challenging, and he did it like freaking phenomenally, I think. So it was awesome, and I love that. I love like all the world is like there's a part where again, no spoilers, but there's like these characters that kind of like protect the world, and it doesn't dive into that too deeply, but like there's points in this film where I started to get worried where it would fall into like the anime cliche, like, oh, we're just gonna get sidetracked by all this like lore about ancient gods or like protectors or whatever. Not that any of those things are in this film, but like I'm sure a lot of people who watch anime films, you know, like they always get kind of sidetracked by their own like, oh, this is really cool element that doesn't have to do with the narrative, and I think this film did a great job. It had all those elements, but it didn't dig into them to where it becomes a cliche or a negative, in my opinion. And then there's like the obvious like interesting characters and quirkiness and all that kind of stuff that is present in anime films, but again, it felt almost restrained, and it always came back to the core of what the narrative was, which was this young girl and her problems. So that was awesome. And yeah, like I specifically just loved the way it like portrayed some of the relationships that she has with other characters. There's this like one, like, I don't know, it was kind of over the top, which is like, I mean, that's what you get in anime, so I don't think it's a complaint. I'm just like noting it. If you don't like the over exaggeration anime thing, like you're gonna get it, like whether you want it or not, it's gonna be there. I love it. And there's this one moment, and I'm not gonna like spoil anything, but just it has to do with a character expressing a crush with another character, and they like set it up in the film brilliantly with like a previous moment, and then they like reset it up so it like hits harder because you know what's coming. And then I don't know, just the way the director directed that whole scene, like the way it's like captured visually, and the way it's performed by the actors and the movements, like I thought it was just genius level stuff. Like I could see any other anime director pushing that joke into unfunny territory because they would have over directed it, over visualized it. I think anyone who watches the film will understand what scene I'm talking about, but he just holds it like it's just one frame. It's just like just a still shot, and then you have the characters exiting and entering and exiting and entering and exiting and entering, and then the lines of dialogue and the performances and the like, I don't know, I was smiling so hard in that scene and just laughing because it was just, I thought it was just so perfect. Like, oh man, that is the exact way to do that scene. It was awesome that he pulled it off and that it worked. I will say like the ending a little bit kind of dragged down for me, but I think it'll be better on a rewatch. Just like how core problem is like resolved, like the very very end, like the last 5 minutes of the film, I don't really get it how it's resolved or if it's truly resolved. I wish there would have been a huge cathartic climax. Like I think there was, but then and that is also shot so beautifully. Like there's these characters in the rain, and there's this huge emotional moment, and there's danger, and I was like, oh my god, this movie is heading into like the stratosphere of the things I love, and the way he was shooting it and capturing it, absolutely magnificent. And then the scene kind of ends in this like kind of, and this is where the like anime cliche is this is probably the only like little anime cliche that is in the film that I absolutely hated, which was like this character kind of it just didn't explode in the way that I wanted. But then again, that might just be a me problem. The way I write and the way I envision a lot of stories and narratives end in like a very violent cathartic release or chaos. So I don't know if that's just me like wanting the narrative to go a certain way, or if it rubbed me the wrong way. I think on a rewatch it'll make more sense to me, but I mean it just like ended in a joke. That was the problem. It like ended in like this joke, and I don't want to like explain exactly because then you'll know when it happens. But if you watch the movie, you'll get it. It's not bad enough to where it ruined the movie in any way, and I think it made sense to a point. Like it made sense the initiating stop, but it didn't make sense the little comedic scurrying that the character does. You know, to get away. that's the part I don't like. And then it just, in my mind, I'm starting to like rationalize, all right, well, what's gonna happen next? Like, you didn't fix the problem, and isn't blah blah still gonna be a jerk bag, you know? So that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like a plot hole kind of little narrative thing that I didn't like. But that's honestly the only biggest problem I had with the film was that ending moment. And then yeah, I think that's all the big points I want to talk about. I set a 30-minute timer on my phone. I have 4 minutes left, so I'm gonna abide by that and not keep going. Oh, there's some like very interesting uses of the way the director like implements other like forms of video game or media is super fascinating. Like there's this one moment in the film where they're trying to like talk about this school drama, and instead of just showing like a chain of text, which that's the other thing I want to talk about. He's like shows it in this like amazing and like supremely weird chess battle kind of well, not chess battle, but like an RTS game, like this real-time strategy cutscene from like a mobile game. Like, you know, when you watch YouTube and then you have those like stupid mobile game trailers, like he does that to kind of explain this like school dispute. And at first I was like, what is going on? This is insane. Then as it continued, like I loved how, you know, it was kind of like a little metaphor of how high school drama is. And then it's also makes just so much sense with how everyone plays these games and is interconnected on the internet all the time on their phones. So it was like working on multiple levels, and then it was very effective, and then it was extremely comedic to me because like I hate seeing those things, and then you're feeling it from the character's perspective of I hate dealing with this like high school drama crap, and then like you have to like position yourself and like get support, get troops, and all this kind of stuff. So it was awesome, and I love that like creativity and like those little sparks of visual elements that the director brings was amazing. And I think I like read some reviews on like Letterboxd and some comments of people saying it was like a maximalist portrayal or a maximalist like form of direction. I don't really know what that means. If it's what I think, then I kind of agree with it. Like the way he like showcases stuff is very powerful, and he's like kind of like throwing it in your face, and it's not like minimal or restrained. Deals with the emotional stuff, and I think that's awesome. So like having those dualities with the minimalist kind of filmmaking in the real world, and then the maximalist type of stuff that's going on, and the more emotional aspect stuff. But yeah, I think that's about all I had to say about Bella. I'm gonna get going. There's some idiotic redneck teenagers in the parking lot revving their stupid trucks. So I'm just gonna wrap this up. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Letterboxd at A Lonely Critic for my credit rambles, which is a new thing I'm gonna try doing. Is like as soon as the movie ends, I'm gonna pull out my phone, go on Letterboxd, and just start rambling thoughts. And it kind of helped me for this review a little bit, I think. So like I'm starting to purge my mind, so when I get to the car and I start recording, I kind of have a general idea of what I want to talk about and the things that stood out to me in the film. Go over there and you can check, and I mean there's going to be a lot of films that I don't do videos on that'll be on my Letterboxd, so you can like kind of follow what I'm watching and my takes and opinions. And there's a bunch of lists on there, so you can check out my 2021 list. That took me a long time to plow through some of those movies. And then check out alonelywriter.com where I post my formal reviews whenever they come out. Again, everything is like super delayed because I'm starting to write again and I'm focused more on creating versus critiquing. But yeah, thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time. Hey, so because of the idiot teenage rednecks that were revving their trucks around me, that made me have to cut my video short. I forgot to give a freaking rating to Bella, the movie that I just finished talking about. So I just wanted to say officially right now, my review is a 9 out of 10. I think it's an amazing film. I recommend everyone to watch it. Watch the English dub version, and I think you'll find something at least a little bit enjoyable. If you love anime and you like big pop songs, then I think you'll especially love it. And yeah, so that will officially conclude my review. First film of 2022 is a frickin' 9 out of 10. That's awesome. And then like I could see this going up on rewatches. So I can't wait to rewatch it in English. And yeah, thank y'all.